Alright, today's service call is on a bar AC unit not working. Now this is a fancy Trane unit that has a bunch of drives, it has variable speed compressor, all that stuff. So let's open up the main electrical control cabinet. We've got a human interface in there. Let's see what it has to say to us. Alright, we got this cover opened up. Inside here is our human interface. This should be able to tell us a lot about what's going on within this unit. So just looking at it really quickly, it's very dusty. We're in active cooling mode. It's using a remote sensor. Supply fan speed is 0%. Supply fan output is off. 0 cooling stages, 0 heating stages. Let's go ahead and go right down here in the bottom corner. It says alarm. Let's click on alarm, see what that has to say. Sometimes the buttons are not very responsive. Supply fan failure 2/17/2025. Now, before we trust that, let's go into this unit and find out what the time and date is right now, because sometimes the time and date can be set wrong. So let's see if it'll allow me to see what the time and date are. Time and date 2/18. Today is the 21st. So it happened yesterday, because that said 2/17 was the problem. And time is 1 p.m., 1:56 p.m., and it's p.m. So following that can help you to understand, you know, when the problem happened. So yesterday, because this says 2/17, and the date in the unit was 2/18, and today is the 21st. So happened the previous day. That's all that really matters. But okay, supply fan failure. Okay, so what we need to do, I don't know if it'll let me click in on it. Let's see what historic alarms have to say. Lots of issues. Mixed air temp sensor issues. It's mostly mixed air temp sensors. So okay, let's get into this supply fan and see what's going on inside of here. All right, like I said, this thing is a spaceship. It's got drives for the compressor, the indoor blower motor. There's way too much going on in this bar AC. There's clearly something going on with the heating system too. Don't know what that's about. Let's open this up right here, and right in here, if we get in here, we've got status internal fault 1284 A38. All right, looking at the manual, it doesn't really tell me any more than what it says. It says number 38 is an internal fault, and it says alarm trip lock, so I'm assuming it's locked out. So we have to try to reset it. Now, do I see anything funky going on? Before we try to reset this, let's go ahead and check voltage at the unit. See if we've got proper 3-phase. This should be a 208 volt 3-phase system. All right, 1 to 2, 204, 2 to 3, 203, 1 to 3, 204. So we have 3-phase coming into the unit. Let's go ahead and check 3-phase at the drive to see how to get into here. Looks like my drive incoming power is right there, so we'll go ahead and test voltage there. It's interesting though, I get distracted. I did not know that there was tech support for duct detectors. Okay. All right, so this is my drive right here. Let's see what we got going on. 204. 203. 204. So we have 3-phase coming into the drive. Wonder what's up with that. Okay. So we know we got 3-phase. Let's give a look at that motor. Don't see any major issues. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna power down the unit, and we're gonna test the motor, see if there's anything funky going on with that. Oh yeah, the unit power's right here. So let's open this up. Right here. Yeah, we got to give it a minute for the drive to discharge its capacitors or whatever. let's make sure that we don't have any power coming to the unit over here before I stick my hands, because I got to precariously reach in there to spin the blower wheel. So we're dead, 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 and then let's make sure that's accurate. Make sure that's accurate. Dead, dead, dead. Okay, we're dead. I tested it to ground too. So now what I'm gonna do is get in here and just spin the blower wheel to see if it moves. No issues there. Let's have a look at the motor. The motor looks cooked. It really does. Let me get back in there. Look at this insulation. It's just like all falling down inside the unit. It also looks like there was pigeons in here at one point. That's lovely. Alright, so, and I see some like remnants of pigeons down here. Like, cause there's pigeon crap right there. So I think they had been in the unit at one point. So if we go back here, I took the center panel off. This, well, it doesn't smell burnt. It just looked funny to me. Belt's nice and tight. Don't see any issue there. Is this a reactor? I think that is. Oh no, there's some sort of capacitors in there. Okay, where's my blower motor getting power from? This looks like maybe for one of the compressors. Maybe that's a drive for a compressor. This should be my indoor blower motor, I think, but I don't know for sure, so let me investigate a little bit more. All right, I traced back the wiring. The wiring comes out of that blue, black, and there's a red back behind there. Comes into that terminal block right there. Out of that terminal block into here, into this guy. So the front is line voltage, the back is load voltage right there. Okay, so we should be able to turn this guy back on and hope nothing blows up. And then we can actively try to reset this if I can. Okay, let's let the drive start up. See what it has to say after powering the unit down. It says internal fault A38. So let's go ahead and hit reset. Off. Reset. Auto on. Still says fault. So I gotta figure out how to reset this. Well, it's not super obvious, so I gotta do some reading of a manual real quick to figure out how to reset this, if possible. I guess, you know what, we're gonna power it down too, and we need to check the motor to make sure that the motor doesn't have any grounded situations coming out of it too. I didn't even think about that earlier. So we're gonna power this guy down again real quick, and I'm gonna do a little more research. I'm gonna test the motor, and then we'll try to reset this guy again. All right, now the failure was an A38, but it had a 1284 subcode, right? And 1284, according to Danfoss's tech support, says internal fault, contact your Danfoss supplier or the Danfoss service department. So it sounds like this is a real internal failure within that drive. So I wonder what happened here. Let's go ahead and pay attention to the colors, red, blue, black. We're gonna pull those off, right? And we're gonna ohm those out to see if the motor has good windings still. Just a rudimentary test. This isn't a megger, so I have a feeling we're gonna have a problem. Like I said, it's in the drive, so it's not resettable. All right, we're at 0.97 from that one to that one. Let's go ahead and test that one. 0.97, and then last but not least, should all three be equal. 0.97. Okay, so the windings seem to be okay, but let's go ahead and go grab the mega ohm meter and we'll test it that way real quick. All right, I've connected the insulation tester to the ground up there to the wire. I made sure I'm actually on it. We have it set for 500 volts, and we're gonna do a quick insulation test. And we're greater than 550 mega ohms. So that motor, there's no insulation leakage in that guy. What I did was I got up into here. This is the incoming power. It goes through fuses, which are good because we tested correct voltage. Then it comes out of the fuses and goes into the drive. So what I did was I disconnected the incoming power, brought it right over to this guy right here, disconnected these guys, which are now, you know, were the incoming power to the drive. I will say another thing too, those wires are really rigid, like really tough. But what I'm gonna do is we're gonna fire this up and see if this motor works. And if so, maybe we can get the customer some cooling because it's getting really hot in that dining room until we can figure out what the dealio is with this drive. I predict there's just an internal fault in the drive due to moisture because it's in the mixed air cabinet, which is the most ridiculously stupid place to install a drive. But we don't know for sure, so let's keep on going. The more I think about it, I don't know if I can leave this motor running. I don't even know if it's gonna run, to be honest with you. I have no idea, but let's make sure of something. Let's make sure. No, see, that's not going in, so that's power coming in, going direct to there, going to there. Now, I have the panel off. I know that this motor will overamp. I just want to know what it's running because this power, I believe, is going direct to the terminal block. There's no contact or anything. So we're gonna bump this and see what happens. 1, 2, 3, please don't blow up. Okay, indoor blower motor runs and it runs in the right direction. So that's a plus. Okay, but I don't know if the unit will run. It might still show a drive fault without the thing. We're just gonna test this guy. Let's see, I took a picture of the motor data plate on my other phone. 13.4 amps is what this motor is allowed to run. So let's go ahead and bump this and we'll see what happens and how high it's running. I'm sure it's gonna run over current at the moment. It's also like a condenser fan motor going bad in there, but it's not overamping, so that's a plus. Yeah, that's a problem. That sounds like junk. I'm waiting to see if it's going to show a drive fault. See what kind of faults it shows. We definitely got a motor going bad, and I'll tell you the story about that motor in a minute. That motor's not supposed to be in there, but long story. But we're waiting here. Hold on a sec. Well, interesting. It's running because this compressor just started up and that condenser fan motor just started up. This one, the one that was making noise, I shut off. This touchscreen though is like messed up because it made me calibrate the touchscreen, and it's and it keeps saying calibrating, restarting, calibrating, restarting. It's like stuck in a boot loop. Oh, calibrate touchscreen. What the heck? I don't want to calibrate it right now. Calibrate fail. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. Calibrate success. That's the 4th time it's done that. But this guy's running. So I'm gonna put this panel on. Indoor blower motor's running in the right direction. It's not overamping with the panel off. So it's only gonna get better when we put the panel on. Well, it seems like it's working. There we go. Interesting. So this condenser fan motor, what I was saying in the story, I disconnected the coil voltage. During COVID, we couldn't get that condenser fan motor. It took forever. Finally, I got a call from my Trane distributor and the motor shaft was sticking out the box. It wasn't sticking out the other end of the motor, but it was just sticking out the box and it looked like it had been dropped, and I said no, because it was a super expensive ECM condenser fan motor. That guy right there, it was that kind of motor, super expensive one. So I was like, nope, I'm not taking it, and then they couldn't get another one, and then the customer had me put in a temporary condenser fan motor right there, and then they never had me change it out, of course. So we had to wire it into a contactor. Now it seems like that motor's going bad because it sounds like death. So we're gonna see what happens here. But we're gonna let this run for a few minutes without that second condenser fan motor. We're gonna see what this guy does. It doesn't have any active errors anymore, so it's actually cooling, which is interesting. All right, I'm going to, their unit is running right now. So I really want to pull that drive apart, look at the internals. Bet you anything there's gonna be water damage in it. because you saw that there was birds, like you could see pigeons in the top. I think that maybe a panel had fallen off at one point in time or something and caused some damage, because how else would there be pigeon stuff in there, right? So I'm gonna install this contactor right now because I don't want this thing to run 24/7. So I'm gonna install the contactor right here. This is gives the VFD its input signal. It's 24 volts on the bottom right here. So I'll grab this 24 volt signal, run it to the contactor. That way we're not running 24/7 on that guy. And then I can pull the drive out, inspect it, and possibly order a new drive if that's what it's going to be. I pulled the drive out because I wanted to inspect it. Without destroying the drive, it kind of looks like there is moisture damage inside of here. But what I want to do is I'm going to install the contactor. I was going to install it over there, but I'm actually going to install it right here because this will be the easiest, because I don't have to do any splicing. I could literally grab these three and these three, go top and bottom of the contactor, and then just run control voltage over really quick. So I'll do that. This way they'll have a contactor running it. I still want to come back and I want to troubleshoot this with tech support, but it's kind of late in the afternoon and I'd rather not have to deal with that right now. So I'm going to get them running with the contactor, then we'll come back and troubleshoot a little bit more. You know, I don't know if the wind is killing you guys or not, because there's a lot of wind up here. I know the VFD is probably bad, but I just want to be safe because I know it's going to be really expensive. So this is pretty easy. Contactor's right there. Boom, knock it out. Not even going to get all fancy and flip the cover because it's only going to be in there for a couple days. But I ran this across this fish tape or fish stick, and I'm just going to tie the 24 volt wires, come through, go to the contactor, male female connector it to the splice over here, and then we should be off to the races. Let me tell you what, they've got a packed bar right now. That place is hot downstairs right now. It's kind of crazy how warm it is in there. All right, let's see if I can get this out. It's almost there. It's like right, oh, I see it. We're just getting caught on this thermostat wire right here. There we go. Boom, there we go. Now we got the wires through there. There's just a bunch of other wires right there, so it's just running through a chase. I'm curious if this unit will work without the VFD in it. Indoor blower motor's not running. We gotta wait for the startup and for the signal for the VFD call. And when it gets a signal for VFD call, then it should turn the blower motor on. All right, it is running. Blower started up, right direction. Compressors are already back on, or at least the variable speed one is on, and then it'll turn the other ones on here in just a minute. So that's it. I'm gonna clean up my messes. We'll talk to the customer, talk to Trane, troubleshoot that drive, and possibly order a new drive and a new condenser fan motor. So, and then the customer needs to have us PM this unit too, because it needs new filters, condenser needs to be cleaned. It's a mess. We haven't had a service call or touched any of these air conditioners at this restaurant, nor has anybody else since probably September or October of 2023, and it is now March 21st of 2024. So they haven't been doing any maintenance, which could have led to a lot of failures on this unit. You know what I mean? Know what I mean, Burn? Guess I'm not done yet. So I came over to their other unit, which is for the dining room, right? Because that's the bar right there. This is the dining room. And I found that in here, the economizer was enabled, so it was economizing. And then I went over to settings, and I found that in set points, the economizer's dry bulb was set at 90 degrees. So it was gonna open the economizer and use fresh air cooling at 90 degrees. So I just clicked on that guy, changed it to 55 degrees, and we're waiting for this guy to turn on. So currently, if we go back up, we have an active space temp of 75.8. The customer has the thermostat set for 68, so we're just waiting for the delay to happen. Well, I've got a lot of really expensive parts. I have a new drive for the indoor blower motor. Got a story to tell about that. And I have a condenser fan motor for the outdoor. So we got to disconnect the temporary condenser fan motor we installed, hook back up the factory condenser fan motor, and then hook the drive up and go from there. We are all hooked up. Condenser fan motor's installed, the old contactor's pulled out, everything's put back to normal. I was having a hard time because I couldn't figure out where this goes, but I went to the other units and it's actually just a, it doesn't do anything. It's just dead. So we'll tape that off when we're done. But I'm gonna put the panels on, and then we want to do a test run and see, you know, what happens. I just put the keypad to the old keypad to the new drive, hoping that the programming will be in the keypad. We'll find out here in just a minute. That's what I was told, but we'll see. All right, now's the test. I put that panel on, that way I can still get in here for this. This panel's open. I should be able to put it into test mode from the human interface if it's not already running. It's dusty up here. So we got multiple things going on here. 1, 2, 3. Please don't blow up. Let's see what the drive says. I'm hoping I can clear that alarm because that should be from the old drive. Yeah, the alarm's gone. Okay, so the drive looks okay. Now we need to turn the unit on, so I should be able to put it in test mode from here, but we're currently starting up. It's in like its boot process, so we gotta give it a second. Drive's going in the right direction. Looks like we're running. So I'm gonna put this panel on so it doesn't overamp. And both compressors, or this compressor came on, the variable speed one. Condenser fan motors are staging, or they're running, they're not at full speed, so that's a good sign too. So we're just gonna let this thing run for a bit, but so far we're looking good. Really good sign, I'm just watching it operate. Really good sign, this compressor is slowing down. It's only got a single stage call right now, and the condenser fan motors are slowing down. So I have confidence that the condenser fan motors are working right. And the supply fan speed, this is gonna be really hard, but it's only at 16%, which is usually, you know, it's set up to make sure, or to slow it down. So looking really good so far. Coming up to these units, you know, this is like a spaceship unit is what I call it, just because it has a lot of stuff. And I'm not downplaying the need for, you know, dehumidification and variable speed components and all that stuff, but you know, when it comes time to replace them, they get ridiculously expensive, like insane. Okay. This whole thing was, like I mentioned in the video, during COVID, I couldn't get the condenser fan motor because it was taking forever, right? What a nightmare even now it has been. Okay. So I called my Trane representative. I said, hey, here's the model and serial number. I need the variable frequency drive for the indoor blower motor. I need the ECM condenser fan motor and blade. And they were like, cool, no problem. They sent me a thing, made me sign off on it. I was like, whatever, yeah, that's the parts that I need. And then I get the parts, and they told me I had to wait like 6 weeks or whatever it was. It was a long time, right? Because it's now May and I just did this job. This started in February. It was more than 6 weeks. I had to wait a couple months. So we got all the parts, and I go to pick them up, and they gave me a variable frequency drive for a compressor. And I was like, guys, come on. I said I needed the VFD for the indoor blower motor. Like, come on. And they were like, oh, well, we have that in stock at one of our other branches local. And I'm like, so I didn't have to wait 2.5 months for this? Like, so I don't even know what happened. Regardless, I drove to another Trane supply and was able to pick up the variable frequency drive for the indoor blower motor, had the condenser fan motor, went back out, put it in. The unit's working now. It's doing everything it can. Mind you, I'm sure I did some things wrong. I'm not, you know, a Trane technician. I don't know everything about Trane units. I'm just using dumb logic to work my way through. And, you know, I was able to figure it out, replace the VFD for the indoor blower motor, you know, replace the condenser fan motor, and the unit is back up and running. I do appreciate the human interface on those units because previously, you know, on the old Trane units that didn't have the human interface, it was like, you know, we didn't really have much to do because I didn't have their software or anything like that to be able to access their systems. At least with the human interface, I can see a little bit more than just it has a call for cooling, it doesn't have a call for cooling. You can actually see numbers. It makes it easier to diagnose. So I really do appreciate that human interface. It makes life a lot easier. You guys saw I was able to diagnose on another unit that they were complaining about that, you know, it was for some reason the economizer was set up to bypass way too early. So, you know, we adjusted that and we were able to get the unit up and running. Okay, so the unit is working, customer's been happy, and all is well. And that spaceship is ready to take off again. So I really appreciate you making it to the end of the video. Thank you so very much. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to my channel.
going to my website, hvacrvideos.com. We have merchandise available, great way to help support the channel. There's a couple other ways to help support the channel. You can do so via PayPal, Patreon, or YouTube channel memberships. There's links in the show notes of this video. You can also go to truetechtools.com. If you see any tools at truetechtools.com that you like, you can use my offer code BIGPICTURE, one word, and that's an affiliate code, so you get an 8% discount on majority of the items on their website, and then I get a small commission from that, so that's another great way. And I think that is it. Yeah, my website, hvacrvideos.com. I'm kind of having a brain fart right now, but I think that is all I have to plug. So again, thank you so very much, and leave me some feedback down in the YouTube comments. Let me know what I did wrong, and we will catch you on the next one.